This is the Peter Greenwood Show. I am outside at the Pleasance Theatre and the sun's bright and I don't like it. It's scary out here. I have a lady to my left. Could you tell me your name and what you do, please?
Yes, my name's Clementine Bogg-Hargroves and I am a actress and writer.
How are you today, Clem?
I'm good. I'm feeling
okay
good.
To call you Clem?
Yeah, 100%. Go for it. Yeah.
You just gotten off stage.
Yes.
Performing your show, Skank?
Yes, my show Skank. Yeah.
Congratulations on it. It did not go where I thought it would go as well, and I've been wandering around the courtyard and I heard so many people saying the same thing as well.
Oh, that's really, really nice to hear. Yeah, it was a really lovely show this afternoon. The audience were really with me. Everyone was just up for a good time, do you know what I mean? And it was just great. I had a great time and I hope that everyone else did as well.
It was a fantastic show, and I'm not just saying that because you're in front of me, and you are in front of me. I'm not used to speaking to people this way.
Oh, wow, really?
It's been a long lockdown.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Well, this is absolutely lovely. And I know what you mean. I've done a few Zoom interviews and all that.
Yeah.
So this is an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure is mine. What is Skank? Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so Skank, it is a one-woman show. And I guess it is kind of like a slice of life. It kind of introduces you to a character called Kate, and I guess she comes across as a little bit egotistical maybe, and then you find out that there's something else going on underneath. But yeah, overall I would say it's a comedy drama. You know, with a few sad bits, a few funny bits, and and then you leave and you don't know what happens after or before.
That's one of the things I wanted to pick up on, because there's so many hints and so many clues to what could be happening, and a thread you think you're going to pick up, then it just goes away and you're like, wait, what was that? What happened there? That was a thing. What happened there? Tell me more.
Yeah. So, well, it's funny you should say that, because like the first kind of iteration of the play, it kind of all came at the end, so the kind of like a bit the undercurrent of, I guess, anxiety and sadness and other medical issues came right at the end. And me and my director Zoe Barnes, we like sat down and we're like, you know what, we need to be a little bit more, we need to sprinkle it out, you know what I mean, and kind of like hint at it, and then at the end you're like, oh, okay, that's what's been going on that whole time. So it was just we wanted to have the kind of bravado up front, but then there's this kind of like these, like you said, Peter, these hints of like something else going on underneath. Yeah.
There's so much I want to ask you about the show. Tell us about Kate. Who is she?
Well, she basically, if I'm being completely honest, it's just based on my life. So, like, Kate, the character, goes through a lot of the things that I went through in 2018, which is what this piece is about. It's about my life in 2018, which includes a boring office job, which includes trying to do a lot of crafts to keep the anxiety at bay, and the constant, never-ending new diet or new exercise regime after your disgusting one night out where you just went absolutely hell for leather. And then also these kind of like more complicated things that happen with me medically were kind of going on alongside all of that. And so Kate is just based on that 2018 Clem. That's who Kate is.
I don't want to drop any spoilers, but the scene with the knitting was a little bit too real.
Yeah.
I could tell that wasn't just something you'd Google. That was an experience.
100%. Well, it's so funny because my mum is really into knitting, so she does a lot of these clubs. So I kind of grew up around all that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very, I really know the atmosphere that is in a knitting class, and I actually love a knitting class. But I think it's so recognizable for a lot of people. Even if you haven't been in a knitting class, you kind of know. You can imagine what it's like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
What it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to ask a little bit about when you came up with the idea for the show and how it all came together. You mentioned there was an earlier version. What was that version like, and how does it compare to what I saw today? Yeah,
so the earlier version, Peter, was just a lot it was just not as clear. You know what I mean? So I think that the earlier version was just like bits that I was like, that'll be funny, let's get that in there. Oh, but then this, and it was kind of like a bit disjointed and not as kind of like the narrative, if you like, wasn't as clear. And so it was a bit longer, and like I said, the kind of like reveal at the end was a bit of a shock. It was like, oh, that kind of came out of nowhere. So this version is just a lot more concise and just a lot more direct. I think like the narrative is just so much clearer. It was a bit more like a stand-up routine with a bit of a sad bit on the end, the last one. So this is a lot more like a play, I guess.
And what was it like bringing it to the Fringe? What was that decision like?
Oh, well, I applied for the Fringe before the old pandemic, that old guy.
I've heard of that.
Yes, it's a thing. It's like a cold or a flu that's going around.
Is it still around? I haven't kept
I
up with it
think
much.
so. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I applied to Pleasance before the pandemic, and obviously then 2020 happened and nothing happened. You know, obviously the Fringe didn't go ahead. And then we got an email being like, are you still interested in being part of the Pleasance 21? I was like, yes, because I applied for it in 2019 when I first was touring the show, but I didn't get in, unfortunately. But I'm so glad I didn't, really, because it just wasn't ready then, you know. And like now I've had so many more shows under my belt, and I feel like I'm ready to be performing in an outside venue, you know, under Edinburgh Fringe conditions. You know, it's a very different beast. Yeah. So I feel kind of really grateful that I got rejected that first time. And that Nick, the Connerty, who arranges the shows, was like, come on board. And I'm absolutely loving it. Everyone here is so nice and so helpful. And I just love this venue. I went to university here, so...
Really? You're not a stranger to Edinburgh?
No, I spent 4.5 amazing years here. And I spent a lot of time in this courtyard, you know, one day hoping that my poster would be gracing the walls, you know.
And now it is.
And now it is, Peter. It is. It's here. We're finally here.
I saw the poster, and one of the things I saw about it, and I didn't want to know anything going into it, is the can of beans.
Yes.
Are you going to be able to let that go when you've done this run?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it'll always be with me for the, you know, it's just such a nice thing. It's my first ever show, and it's just such a, you know, I can hold it in my hand and be like, yes, you were with me through all these years.
In like 40 years' time, when you're sitting in your mansion and you've got your awards on the wall, there's going to be a can of beans.
And then that will start off a lovely conversation, won't it?
Yes, all the visitors. What was that? What's that about?
Exactly.
Well, let me tell you a story.
Well, let me tell you about my success story.
Now, I'm aware of how rude it is to compare performers to other performers, but one of the words I have seen floating around about your show is the next Fleabag.
Yes. I think that's interesting, because I think the reason why people say that is because it's just a one-woman show, and there's comedy in it, and obviously Fleabag was absolutely hilarious. But I think that apart from that, really, the similarities kind of end there, you know. Like, Fleabag, I was fortunate enough to see it on a National Theatre live stream. Yeah, and she you know, she sat on a stool and she told the story, which was so powerful. But my show is a lot more, you know, I take you to these places and I bring you, you know, and it's like I've got a set and it's a bit more, you know, a bit more theatre-y, I guess, maybe. I mean, but I would say that in terms of the comparisons, you know, I guess it does that thing, you know, that it's like, ha ha ha, you're laughing 1 minute and then like, something else is happening. So I think that was definitely you know, inspirational to me. And the kind of Phoebe Waller-Bridge says this thing where she's like, oh, we'll let them open up with the laughter and then we'll punch them in the chest with the drama. And I love that, and I always remember that quote, and that's what I tried to do with Skank.
See, the reason I ask is because I want more of Kate. I want more of her.
That's so
more
nice
shows.
to
I want
hear.
her to be on TV. I want her to be the next Fleabag. Please make it happen.
Oh my God, Peter. Well, that's exactly what I want to do, mate. So that's you know, I've written a TV pilot for it. But
really?
Yes, I have, babe.
I think I've just gotten an exclusive.
Yes, you have. But you know, it's a tough old gig, and I think the whole team we're trying to make it happen. But you know, the gatekeepers and all that, I don't really know how it goes, to be honest. I'm finding that out. You know, all the emails, all the admin, and those kind of bits and bobs that you have to do. But that is 100% the dream. And hopefully, fingers crossed, you never know who's going to come see it, you know?
You have just totally made my day now.
Oh,
I just want to see more of a character. I just, like, you can tell that, as you said, get him with the comedy and then punch him in the stomach. I won't spoil it, but there is a quite big plot point in Skank.
Yeah.
That really smacks you. Like, at one point, I was finding myself misty-eyed. I'm not afraid to share. My hands are up. I got misty-eyed.
Oh,
and I'm like,
Peter.
I need to know more about this character.
That's absolutely wonderful. That really makes me happy, because I think as a performer, I have sometimes struggled with those kind of darker bits, those darker moments where I have to be quite vulnerable on stage, and I'm a lot more comfortable and comfy in the funny, silly moments. So I have worked really hard to really open up those more vulnerable bits to the audience and really let you in and really kind of like help you understand the emotion that comes with the pain that the character's feeling. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Where can people find out more about you and the show?
Okay, so where's a good place to start? So futureartists.net is a good place to go. That is the company that Skank is under at the moment. I also have my own company called Get Giddier, and we do post a little bits and bobs about Skank there, and of course all of our social media. So I think it's at Skank the Play pretty much on all of them: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So we're always posting on all of those, so you can't go wrong.
You really can't. Although, don't Google Skank and do an image search. You may find some things that you're not really
You'd rather not want to see. Yes, of course.
But if you put in Skank Fringe Play, then you'll find the right one.
Exactly. Skank the Play. Very, very important.
Thank you so much for your time today. It was great to speak to you. Congratulations on the show. Long may Kate run.
Oh, yes. Long may she rule. Thank you so much, Peter. It's been lovely.